Well, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Getting ready to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I will tell you who's coming up on that show in just a couple of minutes after I take care of a couple of other things here. I forgot that. Doggone it. I knew I forgot to print something out. I always forget to print something out. And this morning I forgot to print out my spot rundown. But I can easily send an email to one of the guys here in the studio and they will print it out for me. Anyway, Cliff, good morning. How are you, buddy? Nice to have you along with us. Tim, it was so great to see you and Jen and the family there at the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack in West Branch. What a great time that was. So glad to have you guys there. We will do another Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack in late March is what Emil and I were talking about. Congrats to Emil Rousseau and all of his staff at the Lumberjack. Captain, we missed you there. Maybe you can make the next one. Or perhaps our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner that's coming up Saturday, March 2nd. We're going to do another Wild Game Dinner. Another Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack at the end of March. Greg, it was wonderful to see you there as well. Always a pleasure to see you guys. Thank you so much for the generosity of that a knife for my grandson, Trent, as well. Bruce, Uncle Johnny, thoughts and prayers with you, buddy. Look forward to seeing you tonight. Lost Glove, it was real nice to meet you guys there at the Lumberjack restaurant. Thanks for your present to me. I appreciate that very much. Brent, again, so nice to see you and Tracy and the boys at the Lumberjack. Captain Jim says he will be at the Trinity dinner for sure. Excellent. Looking forward to that. My name is Mike Avery. This is Wednesday. No, it's not Wednesday. It's Behind the Mic because I'm here behind the mic. Well, this mic. And then soon I'll be talking into this mic, which is my official broadcast microphone. Gary, good morning. John, good morning. How are you? I talked to your successor there at the CMU Fishing Club. We are good to go. Gene, good morning. How are things over at Apex? Yeah, Brent, always nice to see you guys. And again, Brent, I really think you were the first person ever to take an animal with that new dart and crossbow. Those are pretty sweet. I was hoping Ted would give one away. I knew he wouldn't, but I was teasing him about that. Good morning, Brian. How are you? Thanks for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. The Wednesday Night Live I'm talking about was last Wednesday at the Lumberjack. 1 week ago tonight. Jerry, good morning. How are things in the Adirondacks? Building ice. That's never good. John, my pleasure to support the club. Absolutely. Gene said he's doing good. Brad, good morning. How are you? Martin, good morning. Nice to have you along with us. It was so nice to see many people who I know from Wednesday Night Live and Behind the Mic, but we haven't had a chance to meet in person. But you were able to join us at that Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack. It was excellent, and I appreciate that very much. Also, have to thank the folks from Jay Sporting Goods for providing prizes. We had Rec Broadheads there. We had Michigan Brand Meats there. We had Dart and Archery there. We had Matt Smith Outdoors. We had Killer Food Plots there. All provided door prizes for us. Thank you very much. Jen, good morning to you, my friend. Denise said it was so nice to see you. She enjoyed that so much. And I just told Tim it was so nice to see you guys there. I appreciate you joining us. Steve, good morning. How are you? Thanks for being along with us on a very, very cold Wednesday morning. Man, we are just about the middle of December now, aren't we? And are you sick of it being dark all the time? Man, it's dark all the time now. I did not end up getting a deer yet. Season's not over, though. I tell you, it's been a struggle for me this year. I've had a shot at one doe. I didn't take her because I thought she was on the other side of the property line. I was out a couple of days ago, and before I got in my stand, I actually walked over to the property line, and it's not where I thought it was. It's a fence row. It's an old fence row that's hidden in some pretty thick woods. And so from my perspective, I didn't want to shoot a deer on somebody else's property. In retrospect, in hindsight, in looking at it again, that doe that turned broadside to me a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, was actually on our property. I could have shot her, but I'm not done yet. I might have to go to a different piece of property because we're just not seeing any daytime activity on our lease at all. Gary, good morning. How are you? Mad Jack, always a pleasure, buddy. Merry Christmas to you, Jen. I will pass that along. Jack, good morning. How you doing? Thanks for joining me, Mike Avery, here on Behind the Mic. What else? This weekend's radio show, and we are still dealing with satellite problems. I'm telling you, there's a company called Westwood One that used to be the company for satellite radio distribution. They were highly respected. They were the big dog. They did a great job. Westwood One apparently is on the verge of going out of business, and they could care less about the people that they work with. So as a result, on some of my stations that take the show via satellite, hour 2 is still repeating. Even though we provide them with the proper files, they are screwing up. So I've learned in life that you keep banging your head against the wall, and if you can't solve the problem, you go around it, and that's the way of solving it. That's what I'm working with on Westwood One. We're going to go around those people. It may not be solved for all of my stations by this weekend, but we're going to fix that problem. And I say to hell with those people. If you don't want to work with us, we'll find somebody who does, and we will go around you. Brian says he went to Kansas, came back with his tag. Oh, came back with a tag, not a deer. Kansas is a great state to hunt whitetails in, though, isn't it? Johnny Bowler, good morning, buddy. How are you? Johnny, Uncle Johnny, I forgot to tell you, I told Johnny Bowler about your situation, and he said, sorry for your loss. Justin, good morning, buddy. How are you? Justin, the guy from Miracle Ear in Midland. Justin is the guy, even though I didn't actually get my hearing aids from Justin, he is the guy who put me over the top. 2 events. Justin bringing me in and having me try hearing aids, and then my daughter's wedding reception back on Labor Day weekend when I could hear anything but noise. I said, I got to do something about it. Tim, it has been a while. How have you been? Merry Christmas to you as well. Randy, how are you? Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic with many of our friends here as well, as I say, on a very, very cold Wednesday morning. Hey, Sam, how are you? Nice to have you along with us. How have you been? I don't think we've talked in a couple of weeks, Sam. Don't remember seeing your dad, Dave, on here recently, although he may well have been. I just didn't catch him. Sometimes, like last week, when I was doing the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack, I'm so involved in things and I've got so much going on. And here in the studio this morning, we're also dealing with some technical problems. So I got tech stuff coming at me like crazy. So if I don't see all of your comments, I apologize. Oh, listen to this. Mike Van Wormer rubbing it in. He says, hey, Mike, just loading up both of my does. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks. Thanks for that. Jack says, thanks for all the information in your program. I try to, Jack, and thank you for that. I try to make this show as informational and educational as possible, but at the same time, it's got to be entertaining. Otherwise, nobody would tune in. So it's a kind of a mix here. It's kind of a blend. It's kind of a balance. Freezing here, not that cold. Good morning, Eli. Eli he's a tough guy, though. He doesn't mind cold. These days, myself, I don't mind the cold so much. I just don't like the snow. So yes, Mike, I was just saying that I have not been able to even shoot a doe yet. Between you and your brother Gabe, I think you guys have done a pretty good job in helping to thin out the state's doe population. Me, not so much. And now the only activity we've had in our food plots in the daylight in the last week has been one button buck. So I think I've had several friends who have said, Avery, I take pity on you. And because you are such a bad hunter, you cannot even shoot a doe. And Corey's one of these guys. Good morning, Corey. How are you? I've had a lot of people say, look at buddy, you can come to my house or my property or my lease or my backyard and you can shoot a doe. I don't want to do that. I feel a real challenge to try to take a doe off our lease property because, after all, we put in the food plot. We did everything, right? DNR says you can't bait. So what you should do is go out and put in food plots. So we did that. We did that. So I may have to take one of my friends up on their offer to take pity on the big guy and come there and shoot a doe. Thank you, Tim. That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate that very much. I ran into a guy the other day. He said, "Hey," he said, "when are you going back on your TV show?" Never, never. I've learned to never say never, but in this case, I'm saying never, never again a TV show. Good question, Tim. Is there going to be any ice fishing this year? Depends on where you live. I don't know. Mike Streeter, guy I've known for longer than anybody on here right now. In fact, I went to high school with Mike. How are you doing, Mike? Scott Hand is no longer my friend. I used to consider Scott a good friend. He bought John Bergsma. He bought one of my old Angler Quest boats. You are no longer a friend of mine, Scott, if you're going to rub it in like that. John Bergsma says, good call on TV. John, help me out, John. Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest TV. John, a tournament angler, former tournament angler, now a TV host, also an Angler Quest guy. By the way, John, you and I should talk we should talk. Yeah, TV is brutal. John says he liked my story with my fish on Fred Trost. Rob Trott's still around. I don't think he's passed. I think he's still around. The reason that fish on Fred Trost was so cool because Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest. Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest. Thank you, John. Great Lakes Fisherman's Digest TV. Good morning, Robert. How are you? The reason I like that fish that I had there on the Trost show years ago was it was one of the first fish stocked in Bay once they reestablished the population. So I thought that was pretty cool. Eli, where do I get a hunt law question answered? 2 hunters, 1 bear with a bear license and a deer. 1 just a deer. Would I be able to shoot the bear while hunting with a buddy? Send that Eli, I can get that answer to you for you. Send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com with that question, and I will pose it, or I will present it to a conservation officer and use it for an Ask Avery segment. So Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Scott Hand is one of my friends. Okay, you really are my friend. I don't want to admit it when you rub it in, but Scott is one of my friends who said, look, I got plenty of does. Come on over. I'm hearing, this is driving me crazy. I can't get a doe in daylight to shoot, even with my 350 Legend. I'm not even talking about bow hunting. And I hear from my friends say, oh, we got 15, 20 does in the backyard right now. If I had hair, I'd be pulling it out. We're doing everything right. At least we're trying. But it's just not working out. Now, if we were allowed to bait, we could keep deer on the property. But we can't. So I'm not going to. Good morning, Jake. How are you? John says he's having a rough deer season as well. Thank you, Justin. Justin said he would buy the non-kill license just to be sure because the deer hunter will have a weapon too. Justin Tomei of MUCC, MUCC.org, MUCC.org. Tim checking in from the Buckeye State. We will not hold that against you, Tim. Linda says this La Nina weather is killing the northern Michigan winter economy. Johnny says you're not putting enough corn on the ground. Johnny, we're not putting any corn on the ground. Even though I do not have a problem with baiting and I have killed deer over bait before, I cannot take the chance of hunting over bait because if I got caught hunting over bait, at this point in my career, it would not be a career-ending mistake, but it would be a mistake that would severely hurt me. And I am not going to do it. Even though I don't agree with the law, I'm going to abide by it. Same thing with the 3-rod limit on Great Lakes trolling anglers. Why we are limited to 3 rods, I do not know. There are some things in the works right now that would change that? Apple scent. I don't know. I don't know what to do, Robert. I might just go over to Scott Hand's place and shoot one of his does. Padron anniversary cigars for Christmas. It's not Christmas yet, Tim. How did you get your anniversary? Or how'd you get your? I got a text. So are the wolves. So are the wolves. So are the wolves. So are the wolves. Help me out. Jeff checking in from the UP still, where he's seeing more wolves than deer. Justin, the regs say if you are with a licensed bear hunter and in possession of a weapon, you must have a no-kill tag. Thank you, Justin. MUCC.org. MUCC.org. Justin is if I remember right, Justin, the policy wonk for MUCC.org. Speaking of wolves, that leads me into the rundown for this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. My first guest this week, Daryl Godden. Daryl, a friend of mine from White River, Ontario, Canada. He just happens to be a wolf hunting guide there. I have killed a wolf in White River many years ago with Pete Jones of Superior Bear Outfitters when he was running hunts. He's not doing that anymore, at least not very many. Daryl Godden is running hunts out of White River, Ontario, Canada, and his success rate is very high. A wolf hunt was one of the most challenging and rewarding hunts I've ever been on. My next guest then is Michigan hunter Chris Lutz, who recently shot a wolf while hunting with Daryl. Then Ben Nielsen of Showspan talks about that season that is just around the corner. In our second hour, Tom Simon of Precision Pneumatic Air Guns talks about using air rifles, high power, highly accurate air rifles for hunting. Then Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle talks about an exciting thing they have in the works. And this week's Ask Avery question, a very, very serious and earth-shattering question, most significant question I've ever addressed here on the Ask Avery segment, with Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. And I say that with a smile. And in our third hour, Gary Morgan of Wild Game Dynasty talks about bobcat trapping and bobcat hunting. And we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. I ran into Dixie Dave in person at the Lumberjack restaurant last week in West Branch for our Wednesday night live. It was so nice to see him. I took a selfie of Dave and I, posted it on my social media outlets. I look at that picture and I go, we look different than we did 30 years ago, 35 years ago. We look different, but we're both still here, aren't we? Jared, same thing. Deer coming in at night, not during the daytime. Good morning, Chris. How are you? Corey, good morning. Nice to have you along with us. Tim said they're hard to come by in western South Carolina, so they were ordered early. Chuck's checking in from Johannesburg. There are elk on the elk pole in Vanderbilt this morning. Jake says he's got does for me too. Tim says those no air rifles are pretty important. Jeff Hammond, 15 more days till he leaves the UP and heads to the Free State. The Free State of Florida. Dixie Dave Larry is no longer at the Birch Run location. He has retired. In fact, the old Oscar and Joey's, the old Dixie Inn, is now being demolished. They're in the process of taking it down right now. Justin says his spot in Dorr has not had a deer on camera in daylight since November 10th. That's about what we're seeing now, Justin. And I don't blame the deer. They've been hunted now since mid-September. They get it. They know what's going on. Morning, James. Did I see where the wolf was collared in the western end of the UP? I did not. We need to have a Michigan wolf hunt, but don't blame this on the DNR. People are saying, oh, DNR, we should have a wolf hunt. It's their fault. It's not their fault. There are many people in the DNR that would love to have a wolf hunt. But the feds and the anti-hunters that keep putting roadblocks in the way are preventing it. James finally got his deer yesterday. Excellent. Dave, good morning. It was nice to see you. We didn't get a chance to talk much, Dave, but it was nice to see you at the Lumberjack. Eli says he passed the same little doe twice on Saturday. Rub it in, Eli. Rub it in. Just rub it in, Eli. Oh, Charlie, I forgot to print out a spot rundown, so I may email one to you here during the break. Although I suspect during our break it's going to be kind of hectic in here.
You got 1 minute.
1 minute. You think it might be hectic during the break, Charlie, as we make a little transition over to something else that's going on here?
Yeah. I'll swear at somebody right now.
Okay, do that. Johnny says, must be the bad winters. Yeah. Good morning, Ross. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. I did not hear about the bow hunter in Wisconsin who shot a mountain lion in self-defense and is not going to be charged. Johnny, it is. It has nothing to do with your wolf population, Johnny. Your wolves are just, they're a part of the natural world, and we should welcome them.
30 seconds.
Charlie, why are you so demanding?
Because the clock is demanding.
Oh, my gosh. All right. In a few seconds, I'm going to have to change my plan here from talking into this social media microphone to this official broadcast microphone. I will not be able to answer your questions or talk to you directly as I have been, because I'll be going to this official microphone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Excellent, Ross. I am so happy for you. All right. This is what I'm listening to. The open of the show. So have a good day. Hopefully we can talk again tonight. Company. At 7 o'clock for another edition of Behind the Mic. I will be in my home office, my home studio tonight. I will not be at the Lumberjack Restaurant at West Branch, where we were last week and had a great time. John's having company. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that intro, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations. This ain't a podcast. It is available as a podcast, but it's not a podcast. Hey, Mike, I was listening to your podcast on WSGW the other day. No, you weren't. You were listening to the radio show. Oh, I don't think that's a battle I'm going to win these days. So I might as well just let that one go. Anyway, my friends, how are you? Thanks for joining me on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. So glad to have you along with us as we are now at mid-December. Can you believe that? Mid-December. Almost Christmas. New Year is just around the corner. And it's dark all the time. Are you getting sick of that yet? Pretty soon. It won't be much longer now, and the days will start to get just a little bit longer. Won't that be nice? As I'm in the studio here this morning, it's cold, no snow, but no ice either. Will we have an ice fishing season this year? People keep asking me that. I don't know the answer. Ask Mark Torregrossa. Mark Torregrossa, Michigan's meteorologist from MLive, did say on this radio show about, 6 weeks ago, he said November and December might be a little bit cold. He said, but once we get after the first of the year, past the first of the year, he said, don't look for much of a winter. We just don't have winters like we used to. I have been out still chasing Michigan whitetails. In fact, as I'm recording the show right now, the last time I was out was actually the last day of the muzzleloader season. I will admit, it did seem weird to be in a tree during the muzzleloader season with my Brenton 350 Legend and be legal. Did seem weird. I was in a stand on the north side of our lease property in a northwest wind, and it was perfect. I thought, if I'm going to get that big doe, don't get me wrong, if a respectable buck would have walked by, I would have shot it, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. We haven't seen a buck on camera in daylight in weeks and weeks now. In fact, we haven't seen a doe on camera in daylight. As I was sitting there in that tree, I thought, man, if we had some snow on the ground, it would help a lot. You know, if I because the leaves are all gone, obviously. I've got some good visibility because I'm up in a primal tree stand. And if something does wander through it just about dark, if I had a white background behind it, it would help a lot. This is the same stand that I was sitting in about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, when I was telling you a few weeks ago that I had the only shot opportunity that I have had this entire hunting season here in Michigan, bow or gun. And it was a big doe that got up out of a bedding area to the west of me. I watched her get up out of it. Well, she was coming out of a bedding area. I didn't watch her get up out of it. She wandered to the north to what I think she was going over to a cornfield, and she turned broadside and gave me a shot. And I'm looking at her and I said, oh no, she's just over the property line. And I'm not going to take a chance of shooting a deer on the neighbor's property. So before I got up in my tree stand this time, I wandered over to the property edge to see exactly where it was, because it's an old fence line and it's kind of hard to see. Well, it turns out that fence line, the property line, is actually quite a bit farther north than what I thought. And that big doe that gave me the shot a few weeks ago was indeed on our lease property. So that may well have been the only opportunity I had this year. And it's crazy, isn't it? That I have not been able to shoot even a doe yet this year. I'm not giving up yet, right? That's one of my goals. I want to shoot a doe, and I really want to shoot a doe on our lease property. It may not happen. I've got a lot of friends who are taking pity on me. They feel sorry for me. They say, you know, we're looking at like 10 or 20 does every night. And you're welcome to come and shoot one of our does. Somehow that just doesn't have the satisfaction level of sticking it out and sitting there in the cold and sitting there day after day over food plots that we put in months ago because we can't bait. We're doing exactly what the DNR said. We're not going to let you bait, but why don't you put in food plots? That'll bring in deer. Well, yeah, they do. But this time of year, only after dark, which I realized bait would bring them in after dark too. So I know I'm whining. I apologize. I'm sorry. I have not given up yet, but it just seems crazy that I haven't been able to put a doe down yet. I'm going to keep working at it. I am. I really am. I really am. I haven't had a chance to talk to you since our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack restaurant. It was a wonderful event. Thank you so much to the Forward Corporation, to Emil Rousseau, to all of the people there at the Lumberjack who worked so hard to put that event on. We sold it out. It was an overflow crowd, and it was absolutely great. It was so much fun. We had folks there from Rec Broadheads. We had folks there from Michigan Brand Meats. We had folks there from Darton Archery. We had Matt Smith Outdoors was there. Killer Food Plots was there. Jay's Sporting Goods gave us gift cards to give away. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation was there. Lumberjack gave us gift cards. It was great. It was great. The next one we have planned is for the end of March. We don't have a date set on that. I will let you know, but it will be the end of March because we don't want to do anything in early March because that will conflict with our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and auction. Tickets for that will start to go on sale here in just a few weeks. I will certainly let you know more about that. Okay. I've been talking the last couple of weeks about a problem we've had with our satellite distribution company. It's called Westwood One, by the way. Westwood One used to be a real player in the radio business. Used to be a very well-respected company. Used to be the source for getting your radio shows out on satellite. Well, apparently Westwood One is on the verge of collapse, and they just don't care about their customers. We continue to work on this problem. The problem is The radio stations that take the show off satellite are being fed the wrong show for the second hour. It's not the radio station's fault. It's not our fault, but it is my responsibility to get it fixed, and I'm working on that. What I have learned in my years on earth is to keep butting my head against the wall, against the brick wall, keep banging it against the wall and try to make it work. And if it doesn't work, if you can't solve the problem that way, solve the problem by going around the problem. And that's what we're going to do with Westwood One. So we should be putting an end to this problem very, very soon. If you hear the second hour repeat, I can't tell you how much. I apologize for that. I take your time too seriously. We produce new shows every week. I would not send you a repeat show. I always send people to their local radio affiliates to hear the show. I think that's the best way to listen. In this case, if your local affiliate is a victim of Westwood One and they are playing the wrong show, go to the podcast. I talked about podcast earlier. I love podcasts. Podcasting is a great way to reach people, and I do a podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. So we're working on it. We're working on it. What else is going on? Oh, I have to congratulate Hayden Hall. We've got a thing going on right now. If you post a picture online of your young person, boy or girl, by young, I'm going to say 18, under 18, in the outdoors, enjoying their favorite outdoor activity. I don't care if it's hunting or fishing or snowmobiling or trapping or whatever it is. And you use the hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition, hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition. We keep track of those. And every month we draw a winner. And Hayden Hall was the winner of this month's $50 gift card to the Forward convenience stores. Hayden had a great story. It had a great picture of him posing over a small spike with a huge smile on his face. And he shot that buck with his great granddad's rifle. And Hayden's dad, Dave, was with him and took the picture. It's a beautiful story. It's a great example of this tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping. And we want to celebrate that. Post your pictures with hashtag Forward Fuels Tradition. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. After the break here, we're going to check in with Daryl Godden. Daryl is a friend of mine from White River, Ontario, Canada. He does wolf hunts. There are so many people in Michigan who want a chance to hunt a wolf. Well, you have to go to Ontario now to do that. Also, Chris Lutz, a Michigan hunter, did just that. He shot a wolf while hunting with Daryl. We'll talk with Chris. And then Ben Nielsen of Showspan wraps up the first hour talking about the fishing show coming up shortly after the first of the year. That's just around the corner. In our second hour, Tom Simon on using high-powered air guns for hunting. Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle, and Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. And in our third hour, Gary Morgan of Wild Game Dynasty talks about hunting and trapping bobcats. And we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. It's a busy show this week. I'm so glad you're with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. Any stronger with my contempt of Westwood One? If you don't want to do your job, get out of business, which is apparently what they're doing. All right, I got to go because we got to reconfigure some things here in the, I saw that, Paul, here in the radio studio. Have a good day. I'll see you tonight, 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live.